Welcome to Fast Lap, where we cover motorsports across the globe. And this week's edition, we'll be talking about the World Rally Championship in Estonia, where we will have a legacy first-time winner. That's quite exciting news there in the WRC. And we'll be talking about IndyCar in Toronto, which we'll start with first, as they go north of the border to Toronto, Canada, in the streets of Toronto with a CN Tower in the background. The only race not in the United States on the IndyCar calendar this year. But there was some interesting news and almost a tragedy, but it was averted for the Hukos Hollinger team. After they left the last race in Iowa last weekend, their truck caught on fire on I-74 as they were heading back to their shop in Indianapolis. The rear axle on the trailer caught fire. Now, thankfully, they were able to get the fire out and limit the damage. However, there was a lot of smoke damage and some burns to some of the very important components in the trailer. Both cars were okay. They had Stingray Rob's car and Connors Daly's car in there. And then they had a second trailer with some of the spares. But both cars were okay. And they got help from Andretti Global and were able to transfer parts from an Andretti Global trailer from back into the Andretti Global trailer and get it back to Indianapolis. And what a heck of a team effort for Hukos Hollinger to get everything ready. And yes, we had race at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago. Then last weekend it was a double race in Iowa, and then this weekend past, we had Toronto, and next weekend, this weekend coming up, we're going to Laguna Seca. So what a time for that to happen on a 4-week stretch of 5 races in 4 weeks. So great job for Hukos Hollinger. Yes, they made it to Toronto, and they qualified and got on the grid. So thanks to Andretti Global for helping them out. The IndyCar community is very tight-knit and helping everybody, and no one was hurt. But there was a big mess on I-74 for quite some time. So if you were stuck on I-74 last week on around Monday, Tuesday, that's what it was. Some other breaking news is Nolan Siegel, who could not take part in the second race at Iowa because he suffered a concussion, has been cleared to race this weekend. So good news there for the Arrow McLaren driver. Let's take a look at the street circuit in Toronto, Canada. 1.786 miles around, 90 laps. 11 turns on this street circuit. Very pumpy. Lots of asphalt to concrete changes on the circuit. Last year's pole winner was Colton Herta, and he also won the race last year in dominating fashion. Take a look at your spotter's guide for the Ontario Honda dealers. Indy Toronto is what they like to call it, up north of the border. Pretty much the cars very similar to what they normally run. You'll see Graham Rahal with a special color livery there. Journey has jumped on to Kiffin Simpson. Alex Palou returns to his DHL red and yellow colors, and Kyle Kirkwood running a livery very similar to that of Colton Herta. When you saw them on the track, it was very hard to tell them apart sometimes. You had to look for the numbers in the helmets. And everyone else on there pretty much stayed the same. Colton Herta did manage to win the pole again for the second year in a row. He's very good on this particular track. So could he hold on for the lead? Well, we'll find out in a minute. Let's take a look at those qualifying times. He was about 3/10 up on the next man in qualifying, Alex Palou. Honda's very good, dominated 8 out of the top 10 spots. Only 2 Chevys there. Will Power, the top Penske there in 4th. Always a great qualifier. He's the all-time leading pole position man in IndyCar history. Good spot there for Graham Rahal in 5th. Shout out to Marcus Armstrong there in 3rd. He's been steadily making really good progress there for the Meyer Shank Racing team. Kyle Kirkwood in 6th. You got the outstanding rookie Louis Foster for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Good day for them. 2 of their cars in the top 10. Marcus Ericsson, who's had kind of a miserable season, got qualified into the top 10, so good for him. Reynolds VK doing well for Dale Coyne Racing. And the only man to win for Chevy this year on the oval last weekend in Iowa, Pato O'Ward made it into the top 10. The only second Chevy there in the top 10. And you see 11 through 27, a lot of bow ties there for Chevy. Scott Dixon there in 11th. Honda, of course. Scott McLaughlin there, the next Penske, and Joseph Newgarden there in 18th, the third Penske in the race. And you can see the Hukos Hollinger cars there in 21st for Connor Daly and Stingray Robb there in 25th. Other breaking news, Sunday morning warm-up. IndyCar does a warm-up on the morning before the race. Big accident for Santino Ferrucci. He's okay. He hurt his wrist okay, but he said he was fine enough, good enough to drive. However, the car was not, they weren't able to repair it. It was some major damage to the car, so they're going to have to bring out a new chassis. And Santino Ferrucci had to sit out the Indy Toronto. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the race. Could Colton Herta hang on to that pole position?